Hello everyone, DreadpirateKK here. Just coming on with a quick little intro to give you a heads up that we do get cut off at the end of the episode. We were going over just a little review of our past year as the Space Cats Happy Hour duo, and we at least gave you a little nugget of an upcoming episode where we're going to go into AI. So if you have any questions or want to get in on that discussion at all, feel free to contact us at spacecatshappyhour@gmail.com. Enjoy the episode.
A galactic herd of KKs
invites you to Space Cats Happy Hour.
Let your mind relax. We meet in a dimension outside of time,
where the playfully curious thrive.
So go on, fill your tin cup chalice with the sacred elixir of creativity. Laugh till you breathe violet flame at the theme's absurdity. And above all, let out your full-throated song with us.
Here at Space Cats Happy Hour, with the galactic fur of KKs.
Welcome to the Space Cats Happy Hour, where we finally both have cute, adorable little animal avatars, and I couldn't be happier.
I'm the little wolf.
You're a wolf and I'm a kitty today, and we're both got these like void backgrounds.
It's 11:11 right now, my time. So
yes, and 1:11 for me. So and straight off the bat, I will say I just found out about something this week. I'm on a new dating app. My partner and I are like still together. We're just doing some fun non-monogamy stuff together, but I'm on this dating app and it was really a big emotional deal for me to get on there. But anyway, this week I found out that kitten play is apparently an actual thing. And I was like, this is just me. This is just like, I live my life as a cat, and that definitely translates to the bedroom. But then it was like, anyway, it was like, oh, it's a thing for you. Well, then watch it be an external reality as well. And it's like, oh my God. Kitten, like, yeah, somebody had kitten play on their profile as like their interests. And like, then I looked it up and it's like, there's tomcats and there's this and there's that. And I was like, holy moly.
Good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Oh, I also wanted to just quickly interject that it is September 16th when we are recording this. You know who you are, Kimber, who listens to the show without reading the show notes when we tell people what date it is that we record. No, I'm just mostly kidding. I love you, Kimber. Don't she was just talking to me about something. She was like, oh, one of my friends who actually listens to the podcast, and she was like, aren't you moving like now? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, your latest podcast was like, said you were moving in a couple months. It's like, well, we put the date we record in our show notes. And she was like, oh, I didn't read them, which is honestly even better, because like someone who doesn't even care about what it's about, they just want to listen to the episode. I was like, hell yeah, I love your enthusiasm. But I was like, I was like, for me and my stickler Virgo fucking stellium, I'm like, I will just announce the date so everyone is clear. Okay, now that that's out of the way, and
it's also our 1-year anniversary.
Oh yes.
Did I say anniversary?
Yes, you did.
Okay, it's that. What was our original date of recording? Do we remember?
Yeah, September 17th.
Of course, it was 17. Yeah. And we did it one day early today because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
I know. It's pretty wild. Always with the 17 things here lately. So
we're celebrating our anniversary, and we also both have other things in our life that are celebrations right now. And yeah, and then it's like we're both feeling really funny about the energy of celebration. And I don't know, like, what's your personal like relationship to the energy of celebration?
Well, right now it's a little complicated because apparently I am clearing what I am gonna fucking throw up my middle finger about. This better be the last round of scarcity, security, whatever the fuck bullshit clearing that we've been doing for what feels like years now. There was supposed to have been a 30-day notice that I had on file with my property management company, and apparently that's not actually on file. And so they're giving me this eviction. They're like, pay your rent or we're going to evict you and take legal proceedings and all this stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? So one, I have to either pay a very high fee of like, they're doing like, because I don't have a lease, because I literally just put in my 30 days notice, they're going to charge me the higher rate as if I was month to month, which is a lot more than I would actually be paying normally. So I'd either have to pay that for the month of October, which I'm literally leaving in 3 days. So I'm not even going to be here the full month of September. And I'm like, okay, so I either pay that or I get to run from the law and let them try to evict an already departed tenant, which is, I know they can find you anywhere if they want to or whatever, but I'm also like, if I'm the creator of my reality and the algorithm isn't stronger than me, can I just make that not happen? I don't know. I'm just kind of, I was playing with this last night, like trying to use my masculine energy that is sort of, it needs to be worked right now because my masculine energy muscle feels like it's a little atrophied, which is fine. That's, you know, we just play around and have all the things. But I was like, okay, so how do I create a timeline or like move myself to a timeline where this is already resolved and it's not, you know, I don't have to pay or get evicted. Like it's just all sunshine and rainbows or whatever the fuck. But I don't know if that's actually going to be working, or because I have some time in between now and obviously the end of September, and you know, when they would actually start to try to do whatever they're going to do to come after me if I don't pay the rent. But if for some reason I can't, as the creator of my reality, can't like get that done for whatever reason, and I'm not attaching to any of this, like, as I'm just observing what could happen and what could not happen and just not attaching to it. But anyway, if I can't quote unquote fix this, then what is the lesson again for me here? Like, am I just doing one last round of pay the money that you sort of have, but also we're counting on living because you don't have a job where you're going? Like, are you going to pay that money and just trust the universe to give you more resources because that's what happens, because that's your birthright? Or and that's the lesson I need to learn, is to just keep not attaching to being scared that I'm not going to have enough to live off of or whatever? Or is this like a more of a cosmic joke kind of thing where I'm like, I would never ever, I hate breaking laws. I hate like getting in trouble. I just like am very uptight about a lot of things. And the fact that I would even contemplate just being like, fuck it, go ahead and try and find me and go on the lam or whatever, I think that's hilarious. And it's already objectively hilarious. It just doesn't feel hilarious because I'm in it. And so I know that this is going to be a stupidly funny story someday. But right now, I'm just like, go fuck yourself. So I'm literally leaving this place in 3 days. And I am so excited because I know I'm starting my new chapter. I get to go on a road trip once I leave here. Like, there's a lot of things to look forward to. My last day of work was 2 days ago, and I've unhooked my energy from that matrix, and like I just feel so many things feel so much better. I can feel the forward momentum, and like my energy feels really great, and a lot of things are going really, really well, and that's a lot to celebrate. And this 1-year anniversary, like I'm super excited to record this episode, but like this last round of triggers, I'm just like, well, I mean, I can still celebrate, that's totally fine, and I'm going to, but it just feels a little complicated. And I don't know, I'm not really, I could attach the negative, you know, I could feel really bad about it, or, you know, but I don't know. I'm just kind of taking it 1 minute at a time at this point, because I'm also finishing packing and there's just a lot more stuff to process. And, you know, I don't know. So that's kind of the word vomit of where I'm at with celebration right now. How are you feeling about celebration?
Well, just to go back to your thing, Does it feel real to you? Does it feel real, this timeline of like this eviction thing and stuff?
Like sort of.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
it's
And is that because it involves like family stuff? Is that what makes it feel more real?
yeah, maybe. It also just, I think I still have those attachments to something else is stronger than me,
Right,
like
right.
they can find me with lawyers and no matter where I
Gotcha.
am, and like um that kind of like reporting me to a credit agent, like I know all those things are real, but like that was old game real. And so I
Yeah.
know I've unhooked myself from that, but I also still have programs to clear, so that feels real to me in a way that like,
Gotcha.
where I know that it still exists, even if I don't want to buy into it, because I am focusing on being in the new frequencies in the new grid. But like, I still feel like I might have doubts about how quickly that system is actually going to fall, and if it
Right.
where they can find me, kind of thing. So I don't know. I mostly just don't want this to be a huge fucking deal. Like, if I should just pay the money so that like it clears up that energy, and then everything else can just, I won't be putting my energy towards worrying about it, or even thinking about it in my subconscious or any of that stuff. So I've got a couple weeks, as you said, from now until the end of September, when I'd have to actually pay for the month of October. But anyway, that's just, yeah, I don't know. Good question though, because that definitely.
What percentage of real does it feel to you?
Ooh, good call. Let me think. Because my first, ooh, I was gonna say 70% real, but now it went down to
Okay.
60.
Okay.
And now I'm like, it might be 40. Okay, it feels like 40. It feels like
Okay.
40 because, yeah, well, obviously I couldn't give you a reason. It's just a feeling. So, but that's, yeah, 40% real. That's my final answer, Alex.
Okay. Okay. I'm just,
I think.
yeah. And does it feel like your masculine energy is what's called for in this situation?
Another excellent question. I have asked it if it's supposed to be helping me with this, because I was like, let's just play. I know I have my masculine higher selves, and they're helping me with a lot of this stuff. So I kind of, I might need to give it some more space, obviously, but at this point, it sort of feels like my choice a little bit. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is just another bullshit old major, like the system's last gasp of like trying to keep me in, but it does still have power to
Mm-hmm.
whatever extent. And so
Mm-hmm.
as I'm talking about it, it's sort of like, I don't think I can do that. I'm saying wishful thinking. That's not how I really think of it, but that's also sort of how it feels. So I'm trying to be honest about like, if it feels like wishful thinking, then it's not actually going to work, because then you have to actually believe it and, whatever. But it feels like a thing I might not be able to actually control at this point. But it feels like something I could, if we were a little further along in the death process, possibly.
Yeah.
So I might need to just pay and just get them off my back. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can make like, there's like no wrong
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
For me, it feels like a lot like we were just talking about flexing your
Mm-hmm.
masculine energy muscles and getting into that, and that felt more playful to me. So to bring it into a situation that feels like more
Forceful.
high stakes, and like
Yeah.
feels like a lot of pressure to put on the masculine.
Fair enough. Yeah,
um
totally.
but I would say don't discount your feminine and what it's already
Oh yeah.
doing for you. And like for me, I like to just keep a window open.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm always able to do this, but this is what I like to remind myself, is
Mm-hmm.
like to just keep the window open that anything can happen,
Yeah. That's what I
Yeah.
was practicing last night, was like, because this all happened yesterday, and I was sort of just sitting on the couch after an already long, crazy day, just like completely drained. And I was like, you know what? Oh my God, someone's coming into my apartment. What the fuck?
Whoa.
Maintenance guy. Okay, are you guys okay? Are you okay? Okay, I literally I'm okay, there's my avatar. Okay, I have no idea what just happened. A guy just started to open my door because I don't keep my front door locked hardly ever, which I know is terrible, but I don't care. He just like opened my door, which is my own fault for not having it locked. And I was like, what the fuck? And he was like, oh, sorry, I was trying to find the maintenance guy. And I was like, what? He was holding the door closed, so I couldn't open it to see if he was still there. I don't even know if he's still outside my door right now. I'm just gonna welcome to some more weird energy.
Oh yeah, there's some weirdness
manifesting.
happening. But that's interesting because I was like saying keeping the window open and then the door opened
Oh my God.
and it was triggering.
Yeah.
And it was like this masculine energy coming
Oh my
in.
God.
And it was like, get the fuck out. What are you doing here?
Oh my God. I love having these real life examples. I'm going to leave this entire thing and I'm not editing a single
Yeah.
thing, not even the
No, this is very, we
pauses.
should, I feel like I'm doing the reverse of you right now, which we can talk about afterwards. But I think this is like some good real time, like how we work through our stuff and like,
Yep.
yeah,
Signs
without
from the universe,
necessarily
like-
having to come up with any solutions today, but just like in real time,
Yeah.
this is what it looks like.
Yep. On the nose messaging from the
On
universe.
the nose messaging, treat your life like a dream, interpret what's happening around you like dream symbols, and that's what I
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
So that
That was
okay.
fun.
Wait, so what did I just say? I said treat your life like a dream, interpret. Okay, so eviction, the idea of eviction. Also, you've already said this, but like by coming after you, they would just what would they do? They would just send it to a credit agency, right? Like, or a collection agency.
I think it goes to a collection agency, and then there's a little thing about like if there's attorneys involved or any of that stuff, you could pay court case fines and or
Right.
attorney fees and that kind of stuff. They use all the language that's like supposed to
But they don't want to do that because then they have to pay it to me. So they just want to
Yeah.
send it to a collection agency who will give them some money
Yeah.
and then do all the work for them, right?
Yeah. And collection agencies are, I mean, I've not dealt with them, but I feel like they're known for being able to find you anywhere kind of stuff. At least that's my impression of them. I don't believe that they can't, like, that to me doesn't feel as real anymore. That feels way more like maybe 30%, maybe less actually real, because like, again, such small potatoes. It's like, who cares at the same time?
Yeah.
Like, they come after you for any kind of amount, at least historically, even less than what my rent payment would be. So like, it's not out of the question that they would, find me for this amount. But like, also people aren't working anymore. like the IRS is way behind. Like any of these agencies don't have enough staff. And it's just kind of like, let them try. But I don't want to be an asshole or like get knocked on my face about it. I just am, I keep asking myself, what is the path of least resistance for this moment? And right now it's to just, wait or whatever. Like, I don't mind talking.
Yes.
That's not what I meant. But like, I mean, for me, when we're done with this, it's just like, fuck it. I will decide in the moment what is the best use of my energy. And right now it's to fucking ignore it and focus on my move and enjoy my road trip and seeing my friends in Colorado. And like,
so for me, interpreting this as a dream is basically you've explicitly in your external reality unhooked yourself from a bunch of matrices, and you are stepping into this new unknown, and you are saying like, I'm done with this version of reality. I'm ready to step into reality 2.0. You're leaving a place, you've left your job, you're moving to this trippy ancestral portal and you've completed a lot of cycles. And so then there's this idea of, but there was this, it's like, can I do that? Or do I still have debts to pay? Are there like energetic debts? Are they going to follow me? Are they going to find me? Are they going to come, like that kind of thing is what it.
Good point.
That for me speaks to just like internal stuff around the idea of energetic debts that you thought you'd cleared, but what if you haven't, and blah, blah, blah. And like, what is that? Like all about that stuff. Like, if you do have energetic debts that you haven't cleared according to your own internal sense of what clearing a debt is, does that matter?
Yeah.
Can you still let go? Like that kind of stuff is what it at the internal level.
I like how you reminded me that this is dream, like looking at it as a dream. And so what I just was thinking about when you were saying that is what I'm going to do. Also, speaking of the path of least resistance, what I'm going to do is when I get settled into my new home in a couple weeks, I'm just going to see what feels fun. Does it feel fun to play with they can't find me? They don't have any power. Like, does it feel fun to play with that timeline, or does it feel easier? The path of least resistance, does it feel easier to just pay the money and stop worrying about it? So once I get there, I think I'm just gonna, there being my new home, I think I'm gonna play with whatever, just whatever feels right in my energy field. And at this point, I've done enough work on clearing myself that I can feel it in my body when I know I need to do a certain thing. So I'll listen to my body and see what it wants me to do. Does it want to? So that's a good reminder, Zadikat. Thank you as always for being the fucking best.
Oh, that was really interesting when the guy came in too.
Yeah. That is literally never
Things
happened.
are so immediate. Reflections are so immediate these days. It's really, I don't even know if we talked about, just to hop onto this for a second, but no, I don't think we have, because we hadn't recorded yet. But the day I had where, so anyway, everything in my reality is always communicating with me and shifting constantly according to what's internal. Like that's been going on for years now. But what hasn't is I was walking, I went to the park, and on my way back, I was walking across this big bridge. And then what started happening was a person would pass me going in the opposite direction, like over a bridge to where, they couldn't get back again. And then like 15 seconds, they would pass me again going. So it was like if you were in a video game and they were just recycling the same stock characters. And it happened with like 5 different people. It happened with a van. It was like a big black van that had the license plate regulate. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting one. And it was like passing me. And then it happened with a person with a bunch of dogs. And it happened, like at least 5 different times in the span of about like a 15-minute walk home. And I was like, holy shit, that's really discombobulating.
Talk about glitches, not glitches, but like just seeing the loops just constantly. It's crazy. It's so wild.
Yes. Oh, and I think we also haven't talked about your thing that you pointed out about water and timeline. Did we talk about that? Water and timelines?
No, we haven't.
Okay. So you originally were the one who noticed that where your toilet kept running or breaking or doing all sorts of kooky stuff. And then that was showing, you were like, oh, this is showing me like shifted timelines, and it would happen like multiple times a day or a week or something. And I was like, that's interesting. My toilet's been acting bonkers for like a very long time. I was like, it's very helpful to know that that's what's going on. And then I started having something where, and thankfully, mercifully, this was very short-lived, but I would pee, and then like 2 minutes later, I would have to pee again. And it would be like I had a whole full bladder, like it wasn't UTI or anything. And I was like, whoa. And then I was like, wait a second, water, this is telling us to use water more consciously to shift timelines. And then I had an experience that had already happened that I remembered after I said that. I was like, oh my God, right. Where again, my partner, Mike, and I had been talking about like opening up our relationship and this stuff with the dating app. And he was saying, well, what is it that you actually want right now? And then I described exactly what I wanted from a dating or a hookup situation. And then we were at this little like secret beach with the woods. And then I was standing with my feet in the water as I said it. And I had just gone to do that. And I said it out loud. And then we turned back towards the woods after I said it. And I said, oh, I guess it's really good to like say out loud exactly, exactly what I want and exactly how I want to receive it. And then just as I said that, he bent down and picked up $1 on the beach. And I was like, okay, lesson on receiving. So anyway, it was just like, okay, water, use water. So and then since then, everybody I've talked to about toilets and peeing has had both a toilet and a peeing story that completely, it's like multiple friends are like, oh yeah, my toilet's been acting crazy and I've been having all these weird pee issues. So if you also are having that, then maybe try using water to consciously shift your timelines.
Do you have any suggestion, like drinking water or like just using it?
I think any of it.
Sitting by the river or whatever the hell, imagining it.
I think touching it is, or like having actual contact with it is, that's why like I had my, like we were by the river, but it was when I had my feet in the river that I said it.
Yeah.
And then you and I had a really interesting talk about like, I say things out loud, and that's a really good way for me. Writing is also, but with water, it tends to be saying them out loud. But you and I were having, in order to like shift timelines or like get that external reality happening or anchor in a timeline or whatever, however you want to say it. But you were saying like that's not, again, it kind of gets into the masculine feminine thing. So that's interesting. Okay, how do you feel like the water, like what feels organic to you? Is it just noticing that the water has changed? Like, do you feel like you have to do anything, or you just like notice like, oh, it's changed? Or
I'm more in the noticing phase of like when my toilet runs, I know a timeline shift has occurred. I don't know what it manifests that. Like, I just know a timeline shift has occurred. Then when I recorded that Frankenstein's monster of a session for our Patreon, the timeline weaving, like whatever, I was holding a glass of water, like a bottle of water. And like when we did that exercise of like, oh, I don't know if you've done it or not yet, but there's basically a thing where we like supercharge, we breathe in, you know, how it feels to have everything we want, like know completely who we are, like to have just how do you want to feel if you were living your best life, breathe in that feeling. And we did that 10 times and supercharged everyone else who was also doing this healing together, so that we could just, you know, you receive other people's added power and you give your power to their timelines, and we're just all supercharging each other. And then once those 10 breaths have been, you know, completed, you're holding this drink in your hand, water, whatever the hell, and then you drink that, because as you've been infusing your body with this feeling, you were also supercharging the water, and you drink the water, and that has gotten you to that new timeline or whatever. That's what I was feeling into it as, the feeling of it. But I was also knowing, like, I think I even included in the session, like, you know, if a feeling is not how you do it, that's fine. Like, say out loud what you want, or that kind of thing. Because I know there's different ways of manifesting exactly what you want. And some people don't go with the feelings, and that's perfectly fine. For me, the feeling was the only way I could actually do it. Because every time I try to write something down or say something out loud, it feels like it's flat to me. It feels like I don't know. So I know that it works for other people, but for me, it has to be a feeling, at least so far.
Yeah, which feels, again, way more like that feminine version of things.
Yep.
So yeah, very interesting. And that session, that Akashic timeline weaving everything session that you did, is available if anyone's listening to this and they're like, that sounds interesting. It's on the Patreon, but you made that one public for free for anyone. So if anyone wants to get a taste of the kind of stuff that's on the Patreon, the Dragon Tree Collective Patreon.
Good idea. I forgot that I'd made, yes, it is a public post. So if you search for patreon.com/the Dragon Tree Collective, you will see that post available for free. And it's just it's a little over an hour, maybe hour and a half or something like that, or it's just a meditation. Anyway, check it out. Thanks, Zadikat. I forgot to say that.
So it might just be taking a bath and like,
or
like doing this type of session, or taking something simple where you just are internally just feeling in that moment the way you want to feel, and like really anchoring it in by like quickly grab some water and, you know, like something like that. Or it could be something like me, where I seem to like to say it out loud as I'm doing the thing.
Yeah. That would be cool, because if you said it out loud, that would be infusing the water and you would drink it. If you wrote it down, you could hold the piece of paper like underneath the glass or around the glass or whatever, like as you're thinking about it, and then like drink it. Like, all of these are super powerful ways of using water, even if you don't use feelings with water. If you need to use your voice or need to write it down or whatever it is that feels comfortable to you, just have water with you, and then ingest the water once it's absorbed, either your words out loud or words on paper or feelings in your body and hands. So what were you going to talk about, celebration, or were you going to add anything?
Well, so I do feel it's like yeah, we're in a really interesting period. Like, it's a big deal that you're moving to this place, this land. We've already like have some ideas flowing through and nibbles about what you might end up doing with this land. It's like a very big deal. I mean, you're not on it yet, so it feels like it's like a celebration in phases.
Yeah.
But celebrating the unhooking part, and then I'm like moving forward with publishing my first children's book, which is really exciting. And I had sent off maybe 1 or 2 applications in the spring to publishers, but then for a bunch of reasons, I like was trying to find an illustrator and stuff, and I wanted to wait. So then I sent off a whole crap ton more just more recently. But then I got, and it takes forever. In the world of publishing, it can take forever to hear back from publishers on anything. If they respond, right? Sometimes they only respond if they like it. So it's like, just kind of like throw things in the void and you have no idea. But one of them got back to me, and it was this UK person, and there's a whole bunch of stuff around like things I set in motion, like in back in 2019 when I first woke up, and I was like, I really want to live in England for a while. I was really feeling it calling to me. And yeah, so I finally heard back from a publisher that I reached out to, and they were like, yes, we're interested. And there's nothing like happening right now with them, but it was a very strong message of encouragement when I really needed it to like, yes, continue, because I am going to be also commissioning the illustrations from this amazing illustrator I found, and I'm going to be like raising funds for that and stuff. So it's a lot of things where I'm like putting myself out there, putting myself on the line. So so it was like 2 things happened. I heard back from the illustrator one day, and she was like, yeah, we're on track. I can do this on this. And I was like, oh, okay, great. We're on track. And then the next day I heard from the publisher saying, yes, we're interested in this project. And those are really, really reasons to celebrate. But like internally, how I felt, I was just very drained and like full of doubt, self-doubt and pessimism, and like seeing all the worry sides, which is very me. That's very how I respond to celebration. When I finish something, I'm just always like, and then I'm like, is it really gonna, like, there's a lot of like, yeah. So like celebrating completions of things, I tend to just feel really tired and like disconnected from the actual celebration and more just drained. And then celebrating like any kind of like success or accomplishment, the higher the stakes, the harder it is for me to really tap into the celebration feeling. Oh my God, your little nodding wolf head is so cute. One thing I like about being an avatar is I'm really realizing, sorry, I'm all over the place, but
I love it.
I'm like, this is the year where I finally was like, yes, I am on the spectrum. There's like 8 billion signs telling me you are on the spectrum. But it allows me to just, I close my eyes a lot when I talk, and I just stare off into space, and I feel less self-conscious about it when I'm a cartoon avatar. Like you can see my head is always tilted up in there. That's like how I feel. It's like, talking that way.
It makes so much sense. We can't all just like, there's a certain way that we've been trained is the right way to pay attention or look like you're paying attention or whatever it is. And it's like, no, you can do all the things you need to do, like close your eyes or stare off at it. Like you're still having a conversation. We have the best motherfucking conversations. And I also can't look at my face when I do recording. So it's really, you're right. These avatars are a blessing, because I'm just like, oh,
right? It's like so freeing.
So freeing.
So even as I just described it right now, it's like, yeah, somebody got back to me, but it's not even a sure thing. You're like, that's how I am, right? Like, and I haven't even been really able to communicate it to anybody in like a really like woohoo way. It's always like, well, we'll see, and this was probably not the actual publisher it's a lot of that with me. It's a lot of that energy. This is a whole other bigger topic that I don't necessarily want to like dive into, but like we've also we're in the process of completing a big period of healing and integration and shadow work, and like stepping out of that. And stepping out of that for me is a very long process. It's like, it involves a lot of like mini healings and mini shadow work. Like, it's like very like, somebody said the other day that I was talking to, it was like titrating yourself off. I was Shannon. Yeah. And I was like, that is exactly what it is. It's like slowly titrating myself off of where I've been internally, which felt very comfortable, which is like, oh, we're going to go into like some really dense emotions. We're going to spend a lot of time there. We're going to look at them. We're going to feel them. We're going to like wade around in them. And yeah, so shifting out of that and closing the cycle, but it's like things are still coming up because as you close the cycle, things start to change in your life. So now I'm actually at this step where it's like, oh, we're actually going to publish. I wrote a book for years and years, and that isn't even the book that's going to get published. That was a book for adults that was like turned out to be just like an internal book for me. And then I started on a young adult novel that is a third of the way through. And then finally I allowed myself to write a children's book, which is like, but it's like the process of actually putting out in the world is finally upon me. So of course it's bringing stuff up, but it's just like, yeah, it's just interesting. So I have been just feeling a lot of feelings to do with my feminine energy because I'm much more at ease in masculine, where it's like, do something, even that's kind of true and kind of not. But my masculine definitely doesn't like feeling that something. My masculine doesn't deal well with like releasing the external pressures that we've all internalized around like being productive and stuff, while simultaneously knowing that something tangible actually is going to happen, and like just being told to like just chill out and rest. Yeah. He was like throwing fits this week, like literal fits where I had to stomp around and growl and like punch my pillows and stuff because he was so upset. Yeah. And felt like very like rejected when he was told to just chill out and like not do anything.
It's so funny because I was doing the opposite with when I was playing with using my masculine energy, because we talked about this and you had this really excellent suggestion of like playing around with the masculine energy of doing things, because I've been really accepting how highly weighted towards the feminine energy that I am. I've already like, I am the black hole, I am the magnet, I just receive, like I don't even want to do anything. Like when people ask me like, oh, what are you going to be doing, or what do you want to do, or whatever, I'm like, I want to be a house cat. I don't want to do anything. Just like everybody provides for me, takes care of me. Like and I still want to do stuff. I know that that's not necessarily true, where I like don't actually want to. There are things that I love to do, but I also know that some of this stuff that I'm going to be working on, I haven't either gotten, I don't know, it's not quite here yet for me to like do my manifesting generator work till my energy drains, and then that's how I feel really good and can sleep at night and all that stuff. Right now I'm in that phase of like, I haven't quite figured out my next project or any of this stuff, and I'm okay with that. I'm literally just like, I'll sleep on the couch, it's fine. And then when you were telling me about not telling me, but like we were talking about using my masculine energy, I threw my feminine through a fit. Like, what do you mean? We can't just sit here and do whatever we want. We have to like do shit. And it's not, I was just so excited that I could lean into that feminine more, because I've been what feels like such a struggle my entire life to get anything accomplished. Like I don't want to do the stuff that is like, the world never made sense to me. I didn't want to do a job, but I did it because like I had this internalized, you must work hard and like do all these things. So I definitely have worked hard in my life. But when the feminine came online and it was like, you're going to rest or motherfucking else, I was like, I struggled with it at first, but also once I got sort of used to it, I was like, hey, this is nice. And then you were like, maybe play around with using your masculine energy to make things happen. I was like, no.
Well, it's funny because we were literally talking about moving clouds around, right? Like magic. So it's like very playful.
Yeah.
But this is the stuff like we're just coming at it from the other perspective, where it's like immediately it became associated with work and drudgery and like toil.
Yes. Yeah.
As opposed to play,
Yep.
For me, there's just like a terror. There's a terror, even though like I actually really also like I already don't. My life is heavily weighted in favor of like a lot of downtime, alone time, sleep time, and managing my own time. And like the actual amount of work that I do is not high, but I'm always, when I'm awake, stressed out about it and like trying to come up with things to work on and like that kind of thing.
Yep. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just those internal freakouts.
Absolutely. I do. And as comfortable as I am with the feminine energy, it's still like I'm still getting actually used to it, because I do spend a lot of time stressing, like, are you sure you should be sleeping in the couch nest again? Like, shouldn't you be doing stuff? That is always a constant, even as I know it's in the background. It's sort of like, it feels like ghost programming, but it's also pretty strong. Like, I do a lot of talking myself off ledges. Like, it is okay to sit here and rest. Even if you don't feel like it is, it's okay to do it. And so I might not quite still feel like it is, but I've sort of quieted the anxiety enough to just enjoy it as much as I can. But it's a huge, these programs are strong as fuck.
They are so strong. It's crazy how hard it is, because when I heard other people in the spiritual community talking about like, we're unhooking from these matrices, it doesn't matter what you do with your time, you can literally just enjoy your, like, you're not here to work, you're here to play and have fun, and just you, like, when I tell you how deeply that went in, and I knew it to my bones to be true, and yet putting it into practice is just it's just like the parts of us that fight and freak out. And yeah, and especially because this is all aligning with a crunch that we've been feeling coming for the collective of like scarcity, and so that this is very stuff working out at the collective level too, so we're feeling some of that too.
Yep. Yeah, we've talked about it before, but I don't think we've mentioned it on the podcast yet, about how we both we both are feeling into some major squeeze, storm type energy. And I had gotten a message about Joan of Arc coming in I think December or whatever, to help us deal with some betrayal energies. And I just felt, and I'd already been feeling like a storm was coming this fall and winter. And that's why I was like so grateful that I'd been able to quit my job and have this farmhouse to go to, so I could just literally be a fucking hermit, because I cannot do any more macroing. I done my clearing, bitches. I'm going to be in my couch nest, not worrying about trying to help the collective process this other round layer of trauma. It's not that I'm not going to be doing my job, which is now going to be more like holding the frequencies of joy and love and play and whatever, all these things, but I have dropped off my shit. Like, and I know that the work is never done. I'm not saying I'm not gonna ever clear shadows again, or have bad days or any of that stuff. I just mean, like, I am done with the macroing. We both have been feeling into that. So the storm that's kind of this betrayal, like all this stuff that's coming through, just feels to me like yet another round of systems failing people, like financial crashes or more war or political shenanigans or whatever the fuck is happening out there, that finally gets people to be like, I can't be hooked into this anymore. The systems are really just genuinely not working. As much as I think they're going to save me, they have shown time and time again, this is the last time, well, hopefully the last time for another big wave of people where they're like, I had hope, or I was holding on to them saving me or being a certain way. And this betrayal energy is going to feel like betrayal, because they're still holding this power outside of themselves as higher than them. And that should be a major turning point in the people who have chosen, like on a soul level, you've chosen whether you want to continue in the fear-based game or the new love-based game. So you've decided that on a soul level. So all of those souls who are still sort of hooked into the old fear-based game need to feel that betrayal, so they get out of the fear-based game and turn around and look at all of us who are already in the love-based game and be like, oh, you can do that? Like, let's live like this. And we're shifting reality as we go. And like, I think the systems are going to be like, the dollar is going to change in America for sure. Like, finance stuff is going to be changing hugely very soon. And so I don't know how much of a rough landing it's going to be, or how like choppy it's going to be, but that's going to be a major thing. And so as long as you're aware that all the things that we're seeing are that are bad or whatever, they're just that final squeeze of like, get out of this energy. How many times do we have to show you we're going to fail you? until you just start taking care of each other and yourselves and that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm feeling for this winter, fall and winter, mostly winter. And then in the spring, like Aries season, I feel like a real turning point of like enough people, this next wave of awakening is really hitting. And that's why we're the people who are sort of graduating now, like us and all the people who have done their shadow works and all, we just are all in different stages, you know. So it's anyone listening to this, don't think that you're behind or failing or any of this stuff. It's just like, you'll know when you know, just when you see death and you see all the shitty things that are happening, it's happening because we've asked for a better world and the old one has to die first. So it's going to, again, still be that bumpiness. But if you keep in mind that you don't have to, like, all the bad stuff that you are seeing, that's not necessarily what actual reality is. It's just to sort of get you to focus on what you want, and rather than what you don't want. I think I talked a lot, but I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Wait, that made me think of something at one point, but now, oh, right. I was also just feeling into what this end of this cycle feels like for me, this cycle that I've been in, this like 3-year cycle. And okay, so I don't understand. I have my own relationship to like the densities, like 3D, 4D, 5D, but it's kind of not fully fleshed out. But I know there's people who've been talking about like we had to anchor in 4D, which was like the mental space, mental plane, where we all kind of got on the internet together. And we were like, whoa, we are connected. And then we were anchoring in 5D. And then like we've been anchoring in 6 and 7. I think it was like 70 that came online in 2021 that I felt as like that feminine despair, hopelessness energy. Anyway, but the shift for me is that ever since my awakening, I felt very lonely. And I have this like very core old programming around loneliness, around associating loneliness with higher consciousness and like being in touch with our higher consciousness. And so I've finally been pulling out of that. So every time, because my reality was so quickly so psychedelic and was like just a non-stop feedback loop of like what was going on in my head constantly. Everything I watched on TV was exactly what I was thinking inside or feeling or going through. Words, I'd listen to a podcast and they'd speak the words out loud at the same time I was just thinking a random thought, all that stuff. It would send me right into the void and I would feel very alone and like nothing was real. And a lot of the ways that things that I was hearing from other people about their perspectives on what unity consciousness is and what it means to be in touch with our higher selves and what it means to come into our power and like know that imagination creates reality. There were some of them that were really like my way that I was relating to what they were saying was it was really triggering that wound in me, because it felt like the unity consciousness was like, you know, we're everything, but it would just go back to like, I'm everything. So it would just go back to the self. It's like, I'm everything. And it was like this one-way current that felt very uncomfortable to me. But I was having trouble just breaking out of like that paradigm of like, it's either that or buying into a reality where external forces are more powerful than you internally. Like I just kept getting, it was like, I either have to choose one or the other. Either I'm going to buy into like not being able to, you know, like someone else is going to like determine my value for me or like make some decision that's going to overpower me or whatever, overpower my reality. Or I have to just be this lonely God creature who can never connect to anyone else because it's just only my projection of them and only my own things projected outward, which felt very hellish. So finally, this past week or so, I've been like moving out of that and just feeling like I was like, it was helpful for me was I was like, but that's not how that's like, I'm like, this is very human centric. And I know I've been a tree before. And I was like, that's not how trees feel. Trees don't feel like they're a lonely God person, you know, it's like, they feel very connected. They feel part of a network. I was like, those fungus too, like it's all like being a we. And so I'm finally able to like more actually feel in my heart that like we-ness and that sense of unity consciousness. Like when you're connected to your higher self. It's just that like ultimate unity consciousness that like flows through each and every one of us. And like, yes, you see things from your internal perspective, but you're always, always, always connected to that. And that exact same consciousness is flowing through everyone you meet as well. And I was perceiving that consciousness as just this like massive ecosystem that's just like kind of unfathomably like infinite, but always present. And for me, so the reason I was originally talking about densities was I was like, for me, that feels like 5D felt very much like the I am, like getting in touch with that God power. And then 6D for me feels like a we. It's like we are, it's like the network, the connection. And it's not to say that I am doesn't already hold that within it. It's like more about my perceptions of it, but that's what the shift is feeling like for me from 5D to 6D. And I'm really welcoming it. And I think I have to just spend a lot more time in it. Cause that's like, I would say of everything in me, that's the number one thing that has kept me anchoring myself into a version of reality where things have power over me and like are like unpleasant and I have to suffer through and stuff, was like being too afraid of that empty void loneliness feeling. And it's like finally starting to evolve, which actually, speaking of reasons to actually celebrate, that is one.
Yeah. I love it. That's a really beautiful story about, yeah, the fears of all that, but then like finally feeling into the peace of the unity. And I feel like some people are gonna, well, they're obviously gonna resonate with you because people are gonna feel that too. But I was feeling into my fear is maybe a strong word, but like I was thinking of unity consciousness as like the Borg, where it feels like gross. It's not gross, but like it just feels really heavy and weird and whatever. And that version can exist. That's, on a different timeline or whatever. But the way you describe, and I was also feeling into that tree, mushroom consciousness where it's just, and every time I go out for a walk and there's parts of like the grass, that I'm walking past that are, some of it's dead, some of it's like, dried out or whatever from the summer, or like some of it's actually got the greenery. It's like that part of that consciousness that's showing up in the physical world as dead grass has moved to grass that is actually got, that's green and alive and all that stuff. So it doesn't matter that it's, anyway, it was just a really cool, I love seeing it in nature because then it's like, oh, that is how it feels. Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to say anything that you haven't already said. What I'm saying is I really love that because I was also going through, the not sure I want to be. I do like my own thoughts and being alone, and being part of a hive seems a little, it seems good in a lot of ways, but also for me, I didn't want to be the Borg. So
yeah, well, yeah. Also, there's the surrender of control part, because you can create a reality for yourself if you really want to, where it is just you and you're only interacting with projections of people, and you exert a lot of control. And that could be blissful for somebody. I'm not, it's like, it's hard for me to talk about it neutrally because I'm like, I've been there and it's hell, like not in this incarnation, but in others. It was like my personal hell. It was like too much. But when you allow yourself to merge, then it is that surrender, because it's like, well, your little avatar doesn't have to be in control of how everything plays out, and someone else's avatar could influence you, but you just trust, because it's like, well, it's all coming from the same beautiful unity consciousness place. So if somebody else's anything does like influence my reality or whatever, it's just like it
all feels good because it's
it's like it's the same as if mine was influencing mine.
Yes.
Because they are me and I am them. But it's not just everyone is me, which doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah. It's that whole,
like everything is everything.
Yeah. And the individuated consciousness, whenever she started saying that, I was like, oh my God, that resonated really hard. I was like, oh, you don't lose your identity to the extent that like you're all one thing. You're still an individual, like an individual spark of source, but and it ties back into what you're saying about how, yeah. Anyway, again, not
but
saying
I think you can too.
That's true.
Like, because if you just think about other creatures or living things and how they are, like, I think some of them enjoy less individuation.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's all just like
What do you
experience.
want?
Yeah, exactly. It's all just what do you want? Exactly. So it's like the fact that an option exists that feels really bad and scary and awful. For me, that's like the trap. I'm like, but there's something that feels bad and scary and awful. So therefore, if that's possible, then
That's what I'm gonna get.
that's what I'm gonna get it. It's like, or it's like, if that's possible, then that's like the only option in my, my head, because like somehow it makes the other options less real, that there's like a unpleasant option.
Yeah.
It's just like where unpleasant things feel more real than pleasant things to us.
Yes. Yes.
But
I'm
so
so
yeah, so for me right now, losing my individuation completely does not feel amazing, but going down that other path also doesn't feel amazing. And it's like really feeling into like what feels good to me, and then go for that.
Absolutely. What else? We're celebrating our 1-year anniversary. Like, get into that. Like, where we've been and all that
Yes,
stuff.
our 1-year anniversary.
All right.
Wait, okay, let's
Yeah.
lightning fast.
Yeah.
What do you remember? I don't remember I know it's been a huge difference. We hadn't started the Dragon Tree Collective. We barely knew each other. We had not traveled to Mexico.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So this podcast started out with like, we didn't know each other very well. And so it was like I don't even know what our show notes say anymore, or the overall thing, where it's like, watch two internet strangers in real time each other, or whatever we were saying. And I think our first episode was even like, we're going to hold a place of inconsistency. Like, we had all these, we're just like, who knows what it's going to be, but it's basically going to be us getting to know each other and talking about whatever. And it's been exactly that. I know there's been some times where like we've taken breaks from recording where we're actually hanging out together, like in person, or having, offline, like non-recorded chats or that kind of stuff. So we've, I think if you were to put all our episodes back to back, it would be like, oh wow, they jumped into really being friends like over the past couple, whatever. But that's just kind of how it did happen fast, but it didn't happen all on air, which is totally fine.
It was very Borg.
Yeah. It was.
we really merged consciousnesses pretty quickly. It was like
so hilarious, and it's been so much fucking fun. Like, yeah, those first episodes where we were asking like get to know you questions and stuff. I want to go back and listen to them all, because it would be funny to see how how might be nervous we sounded in the first one versus now where we're like, fuck it, somebody came in my door, we're just gonna keep that in the recording. Like, who knows? And yeah, we've been through quite a year, but because we were keeping up with each other on like talking about the energies and talking about our clearings, and like, oh my God, we even like practiced new healing abilities. Like, a lot of shit came online for us that we were not.
So much stuff.
Yeah, we were
developing our
last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, whoa.
Yeah.
We went on joint journeys together, vision journeys, did energy work together. We've done it all.
Pretty fun. Like,
and I think we really were like, it was like to help each other like bridge as well, coming out of that cycle, which was a really grinding one, into this new cycle. And like,
that was rough.
Yeah, it was like we really needed to connect with each other, to have people who were like, we could talk like that explicitly about, like, from a perspective of like, okay, nothing is real, like, let's it was very, 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 very start with nothing is real. If there's a problem in your life, like nothing, and then like branching out, like meeting in person.
Yeah, that first with California,
very helpful,
with Pearl,
and necessary, and other dragons.
Linda. Oh yeah, and
Linda, and like making connections that are now also, we're making more connections. Stay tuned. Maybe future things, like it's just like that branching out, moving from like I am the pork, but not the pork. Well, that's a whole other. We definitely have to have an episode where we talk all about AI, because that's a whole other topic that we've been getting into a lot lately. That is very. It's a lot to get into there, but